The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of ParaX, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
It's coming.
All these voices. All these voices. All these things you can't explain. All these painful memories. They keep haunting you and daunting me. It's just a ghost of you and me. It's just a smoking gasoline. It's just a ghost of you and me. Of you and me. All these whispers.
My name is James Hershey. Right back.
All these shadows in my mind. My reflection I can't find. It's just a ghost of you and me. It's just a smoking gasoline. It's just a
That ought to
ghost
do
of
it.
you and me. Of you and me. Don't let 'em take you away. Don't let 'em bring you down inside. It's just the mirrors in your mind. Don't let 'em bring you down.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Staring into the Abyss. I am your host, horror author James Hershey Jr., and with me, as always, my co-host, Old Boy James Ash. How you doing, brother?
What is up, Demon Hunters, Sugar Ladies, and Misfits? I'm doing great, brother. What's up?
Tonight's episode is going to be a difficult one. It's going to be interesting, but it's almost guaranteed to piss somebody off. Because tonight's episode is going to be on the flat earth theory. Now, there's a lot of people that believe this theory is true. There's a lot of people that don't believe this theory is true. What I'm going to do on this episode is I'm going to lay out with 100% facts and science the answer to that question. Is it true or not? Basically, what the flat earth theory is it's the belief that our planet Earth is not, in fact, round, but that instead it is flat. In the time of Columbus, like they believed then, that the Earth is flat, not round. There's a bunch of stuff that goes with it, a bunch of reasons they give for their belief that the world is flat. I'm not really going to go too much into the reasons that they believe the world is flat. If you want to know that information, YouTube is filled with it. So just look it up on YouTube, and there's video after video after video after video of people telling you that the world is flat and that the scientists and the government and everybody's been lying to you this entire time. I don't think it's very productive to repeat that information again and again and again. The basic idea the world is flat, you get that. It's easy to understand. What I'm going to try to do tonight is go through some of the reasons why I believe that this particular conspiracy theory is not true. Now, a little bit about myself first. I'm the kind of guy that no matter how ridiculous something sounds at first, I have learned in my life to never just simply discount something because it sounds silly. There have been several conspiracy theories that on first glance looked absolutely ludicrous, and then upon further examination you learn that they're not so crazy after all, that there is some truth there. So I make it a rule of thumb in my life to never discount anything just because it sounds ridiculous or dumb. I always want to know the evidence behind it. Why do these people believe this? What real facts are there that lead them to believe something so silly, basically? And I don't mean to make light of the conspiracy theory, because believe me, I'm a guy that buys into several different conspiracy theories. I believe that Bigfoot exists. I believe that the Loch Ness Monster exists. I believe aliens exist. So I am by no means a skeptic across the board. Just so everybody understands that, I'm not the guy that's always like, oh, you're crazy, you crazy conspiracy people. I'm not that guy. But I'm also a guy that believes in truth. I believe in truth above all else, above feelings, above politics, above being nice. I believe that true is true, and you have to be honest. You have to tell the truth. I'm not going to buy into every single theory, but some I do, some I don't. This particular theory, my first, and I'm going to be very truthful and honest about this, my first thought when I saw this was, seriously? You got to be freaking kidding me. The Earth is flat? What, do we run out of conspiracy theories and now this is what people are turning to? This is the most ridiculous crap I've ever heard in my life, okay? That was my first thought on it, and that's the truth. But because I don't ever discount anything without examining it first, I thought, let me give it a listen. Let me see what these people are talking about. I'll examine the evidence, and then I can say it's crap, and I can get it out of my head. Because another thing about me is I have to solve a mystery. If something catches my attention and catches my interest, and I don't solve it, at least in my own mind, I'm not talking about solving it for the world. I'm talking about reconciling it in my own mind that it's either true or false. If I don't solve it and get to that conclusion in my mind, it drives me absolutely crazy. It's like that thing where you have a song in your head that keeps playing over and over and over again, and no matter how hard you try, you just can't ever seem to get that damn thing out of your head. You know, that's how it is with me and these mysteries. So for the last, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 days maybe, this has been in my brain, and I have not been able to get rid of it. And I've done a hell of a lot of research on both sides of this issue to try to get rid of it, because I don't want to think about this anymore. It's driving me crazy. So tonight, I'm going to go through some of the reasons why I find the Flat Earth theory to be baseless. I don't think it's true at all. And there's good actual reasons for that. So let's start things off with the very first reason, the moon. Okay, this is a very simple one. It's not very high tech. It's not very overly complicated, but it's simply the moon. I mean, Aristotle was the first person that noticed, or at least the first person that documented noticing that during a lunar eclipse, okay, and for those that don't know, the lunar eclipse is when the Earth's orbit places it directly between the sun and the moon. Okay, so during the lunar eclipse, the shadow on the moon's surface is round. Okay, now that shadow is the Earth. So when you have the Earth being in between the sun and the moon, the sun is backlighting the Earth. So it is casting a shadow that is in the shape of the Earth on the moon. Okay, and that shadow is round. So it tells you that the Earth is round. Okay, it's spherical. If the Earth was flat, you would not see a round shadow. Okay, and since the Earth is rotating, the fact that there is a consistent oval-shaped shadow that is produced consistently over and over and over again in every single lunar eclipse, it proves that the Earth is not only round, but that it's also spherical. Okay, that's completely, absolutely, 100% beyond a shadow of a doubt that the Earth is not flat, that it is round, because it would not cast that round shadow. So that's the very first thing. And that is a very obvious thing and very low tech that people can understand. Some of the things that are on here that I'm going to talk about that I wrote down they're kind of what we used to call heady. They're kind of complex, and I try to dumb this down as much as I can so that if you're not a rocket scientist, you'll understand what the hell I'm talking about. And some things I just completely left out of the show, honestly, because I thought, yeah, there will be people out there that will understand what I'm talking about, but it is so filled with jargon and it's so full of math that it's just not going to be interesting at all. The second thing is ships, like on the ocean and the horizon. Okay, now the basic idea of this is when a ship is either coming into the shore or when it is leaving the shore, heading out to sea, there is a certain way that ship either appears or disappears. If the Earth was flat, then what you would have is you would have the ship as it's coming towards the shore. You would have it just all of a sudden appear. once it gets within the range of your eyes. If the ship was leaving the shore, then you would have the exact opposite. You would have it just suddenly disappear as it leaves the range of your eyes. But that's not what takes place when a ship comes or goes. What happens is you see the very top of the sailing mast first, and then slowly, as the ship gets closer to you, you see it. The view goes down, down, down the ship, and you see more of the sail, until finally you get to the actual hull of the ship, and you can see the whole thing. Now, obviously, not all ships are sailboats, so there's not always a sail, but you understand what I'm saying. And the exact same thing happens as the ship is leaving the shore, heading out to ocean. As it gets over the horizon, the view, you see the whole ship, and then slowly it works its way up until finally all you can see is the top of the sails, and then it disappears. Now, what that tells you is that the Earth has a curve to it, because that's why your view is doing that. Okay, it appears like the ship is emerging from beneath the sea as it's coming in, or sinking down into the sea as it goes away. Now, obviously, we know that that does not happen in real life. Okay, that might happen in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies or something along those lines, but in actual real life where science and physics rule, that never happens. It's just impossible. But that's because the world is round. So that's another really good bit of evidence and proof to me that tells me this theory is not true. Okay, another way to look at it is, imagine that you have an ant and it's walking on an orange. Now, you're watching the ant walk away across the top of this orange. Now, as it curves down the back side of the orange out of your view, you go from seeing the entire ant to only half the ant to a quarter of the ant, and then the ant disappears. That's because it's going around the curve of that orange. The same thing happens with the ships as they sail away. Now, I'm not saying they're going completely around the Earth when they do that. That's an obvious thing I'm not saying. But there will be people that are, flat Earth people that say, oh, that's what he's saying. But that's not what I'm saying. The curve of the Earth is very slight, but it gives that change in perspective. I guess that's my basic point there. The next thing is varying star constellations. Basically what this is depending on whether you are in the northern hemisphere or you're in the southern hemisphere, there are different constellations and different stars that you see all the time. Some you do not see in the southern hemisphere, and some you do not see in the northern hemisphere. This was another thing that was originally observed by Aristotle. And he declared that the Earth was round based on the different constellations that you see as you move away from the equator. Basically, he was coming back from a trip from Egypt, and he noticed that there were stars that he saw in the sky in Egypt that were not seen up north. From that, he decided that the Earth was round, and it's sound logic. Now, the further you go away from the equator, the farther the constellations that you're used to seeing will move towards the horizon line, and then they will be replaced by different stars. Okay, this can only take place if the world is round. If the Earth was flat, that would not happen. You would see the exact same stars every single night, no matter where on the Earth you were, because they would be right above you. There would be nothing in the way. But see, on a round planet, you're only seeing a patch of sky at a time, because the view of the other part of the sky is blocked by the curvature of the Earth, so you can't actually see that. The next thing on this list is basically it's the old thing of the sundial. Do you remember watching History Channel and stuff like that, and learning in school about the old sundials? The basic idea there is that they use an object and the shadow of the object cast by the sun to tell what time it was. So basically, you can do this with sticks. If you take a stick and you jam it in the ground, then it makes a shadow. As time passes in the day and the sun changes positions in the sky, the shadow that's on the ground will move. So if you mark the original starting point and then you mark the point that it travels, then you can tell time by that. This only happens also if the world is round. If the world was flat, then you could put two sticks in different locations and they will produce the same shadow at all times. You could put one stick in the ground and that shadow will stay constant because the sun is directly overhead. That's what Flat Earth believes, is that the sun is revolving around the Earth. That the Earth is a flat disk and that the sun is revolving around, and that at nighttime what happens is the sun goes underneath the Earth where nobody on Earth can see it. And then the morning comes and it comes up the other side and then travels back across the sky and it goes down, and that's what they believe happens. Now, if that was the case, that shadow would never move. And you might be thinking, now wait a minute, James, that doesn't make any sense because it's still moving across the sky. So how could you say that the shadow wouldn't move? This is where it starts to get a little heady, but I'm going to explain it this way. If you take a flashlight, okay, and you turn it on, okay, that's going to represent the sun. And if you pull out that old orange that you had a minute ago that the ant was walking across in our last little example, and you hold up the orange in your hand, just let it sit in the palm of your hand, don't use your fingers, just let it sit in the palm, and you shine the flashlight on the orange, okay? Now you don't want to do it level, you want to do it from up above at an angle, but you want to shine the flashlight down on the orange. There are parts of that orange that aren't going to have light. And if you move the flashlight left to right, simulating the sun moving across the sky, the shadows on that orange will change. The places on that orange that do not have light will change. Okay, now I want you to take and go to your closet and pull out that old Monopoly game that you have not played in years, because every time you play it, your half-retarded brother always beats you in Monopoly because for some reason he's the best thing in the world at Monopoly, but not at life, or whatever the situation is. Pull that game out that you haven't played in forever. It's a flat board, okay? Or just grab a book from your bookshelf. That'll work the same. A box of Hamburger Helper. Anything with a flat surface. Now I want you to hold that in your hand as well. Now I want you to take your flashlight, which is the sun, and I want you to hold it up in the same spot that you had the sun before, and shine it down on that book, or that Hamburger Helper, or that aggravating ass Monopoly game. And then I want you to move that flashlight from left to right, simulating the same thing you simulated with the orange, that the sun is moving across the sky. What you will notice is that you don't have the same shadows as you had with the orange. You don't have sections of that board, or that book, or whatever, that aren't lit up. Now we're also assuming that the sizes are relatively the same. So I guess you can't really use a Monopoly board, but you can use a deck of cards, a flat object that's around the same size as the orange. You will notice that the entire surface of that flat object is lit up the entire time as the sun travels across the sky. There are no dark spots. On the orange, there are dark spots. On the tennis ball, there are dark spots. Even on something as small as a golf ball, there will be dark spots. That's because of the shape, the curve. On a flat surface, the entire thing is lit up. Now the reason for that is because no matter how concentrated light is, because we would all agree that a flashlight, the light that's coming off of that, is much more concentrated than the light coming off the sun. It's the same basic principle, but the flashlight is a hell of a lot closer to the object you're shining it on than the sun is to the earth. But even with the flashlight, as concentrated as that beam is, the second that the light leaves the flashlight and it enters into the air, it begins to disperse in all directions. That is why the sky looks blue the entire day. If light stayed concentrated, then the sky would only be blue in the immediate patch of sky that the sun occupies at that moment. The rest of the sky would not be blue. Now, that is a severely oversimplified explanation of why that happens. But the basic point is, with a flat object, you would not have night on one side of the planet and day on the other side of the planet. That can only happen with a round Earth, because you have those shadows that the orange, the golf ball, the softball, the baseball, the tennis ball, all those things had those shadows. That is night and day. That's what happens on our Earth. Now on your deck of cards or your postcard or your notebook or whatever it is you use, your hamburger helper box, you notice that entire surface is lit up the entire time you move the sun. That means the entire Earth is daytime at the same time. That means underneath the Earth is nighttime at that time. But nobody lives underneath the Earth because the underneath of that box is representing basically the middle of the Earth. You might as well say, because that side is not populated at all. There's nothing there. All the people live on the surface. And for that entire surface area, it's lit up constantly. So the whole world has daytime at the exact same time, and the whole world has nighttime at the exact same time with a flat Earth. That is what time zones are as well. We don't have time zones because we simply decided, hey, what the hell, let's make it an hour later in Virginia than it is in Illinois just to mess with people, just so they miss their favorite TV show. That's not why time zones were invented. Time zones are there because as the sun goes across the sky in a day, the amount of sunlight that area is receiving is different depending on where on Earth you are. That is what time zones are for, is to regulate the work days, regulate what how we exist based on where the sun travels, so that everybody has a general idea of what's going on. Okay? That is not possible with a flat Earth. There would be no time zones. There would be no need for them because the entire planet would be lit up at the exact same time. Now, the next principle that I believe completely makes this an obvious, untrue theory is the fact that you can see high or see farther the higher you go. We've all been in that situation where, well, at least some of us, I guess not everybody, but most people have been in a situation where you're hiking or something like that. And if you've ever spent any time in the woods or, out in nature, it's pretty easy to get yourself turned around sometimes because everything starts to look the same. One tree looks the same as another tree. If you're in the middle of the woods, there's a lot of different trees, and they all kind of look identical. So it's easy to kind of lose your bearings a little bit, and you can look out and see so far. But if you climb up one of the trees, you can see a lot further. Now let's take the woods out of the equation. Let's simplify it even more. Let's say you are in a field that stretches as far as you can see. Now, as far as you can see, let's say you're able to judge that distance accurately, and you were able to stick a big red flag in the ground right there. You walkie-talkie somebody, they stick a red flag right there. That's the very limit of your vision. That's as far as you can see from the ground. Now, if you go up a hill, which is right behind you, and you increase your elevation, then you will be able to see past that flag. And depending on how high you go, depends on how much further you can see than the flag. The higher, the further. That is only possible with a round Earth. If you had a flat Earth, then elevation wouldn't change anything. You would see the red flag at the limit of your vision, you would climb the hill, and you would still only see the red flag at the length of your vision. Because the reason why, from ground level, that you can only see to that flag is because of the curvature of the Earth. The same thing as we talked about earlier with the ships leaving over the horizon. Where the planet curves, the Earth actually starts to block your view. So you see less and less of the ship until it's gone. Same thing here. You can only see so far before what's beyond that point, just like the ship, has gone around a little bit of the curvature of the Earth and you can no longer see it. But as you raise elevation, you change your perspective on that curvature and you can see past it a little bit further until the curvature gets you again from your new perspective. That's only possible with a round planet. Can't happen with a flat Earth. Okay, the next thing is basically just get on a plane. Get on a plane and fly somewhere and look out the window and see what you see. It's pretty obvious while you're flying that the Earth is round because you can actually see the slight curvature of the Earth on the horizon a lot of times. Now sometimes if there's a whole lot of cloud cover and stuff like that, you won't. But on a clear day, if you're looking, you can see a slight curvature on the horizon that shows you that the world curves. Now, flat Earth people believe that the reason why if you take a ship or a plane that you don't either sail off or fly off the edge of the Earth, like everybody was worried about Columbus was going to do, They believe that the reason for that is because we are surrounded by gigantic walls of ice that keep you from going off the edge of the Earth. But in this modern age of airplanes, there have been airplanes that have flown around the world. And some routinely do. At least fly great distances around the world. Maybe not completely circling the planet, but they fly most of the way. Now, another way to look at this is I live in Virginia, in the United States of America. Now, Russia is both to the left of me and to the right of me. If I go east and I keep traveling east, I will reach Russia. Now, I probably got to go northeast some to get there, but that general direction, I will reach Russia. If I go west and I keep going west long enough, I will also reach Russia. Now, how would that be possible if the Earth was flat? Only on a round Earth could you leave in two completely opposite directions and still reach the same point. It's only possible with a round Earth. With a flat Earth, you would either go off the side or you'd run into this wall of ice that the flat Earth people believe is there. You would not reach Russia. Imagine that orange again, or softball, or tennis ball, whatever kind of ball you enjoy. Think about that ball. Now, take a magic marker and make a little dot on that ball. Then I want you to draw a line. Choose a direction, left or right, up or down, north or south, east or west, doesn't matter. Choose whichever direction that you feel you need to choose at the moment. Or do something crazy and go northeast or southwest or whatever. Pick a direction. Start drawing a line in that direction. Continue going in that direction until you reach your point again that you made your little dot. Every single time you'll get back around to it. Because that's what happens with a ball. That's what happens with a circle. Now take that hamburger helper box or that deck of cards or whatever it is. Do the exact same thing to it. 0 times out of 1,000,000 or whatever. You could do this infinity times. You could do it until the day you die, over and over and over again. You will absolutely never reach your dot again by going in one direction with a flat surface. Not possible. So that right there tells me that the Earth is round and not at all flat. That's pretty basic stuff there. You know what I mean? The next thing we need to do is just simply look at every other thing in the universe that we can see. Look at our sun. It's round. Look at the moon. Round. Look at every other planet in our solar system. Every single one of them round. None of them are flat. None of them are disc-shaped objects. Look at every star that we can see in the sky. If you take a big enough telescope and you look at those stars, they're all round too. So basically we have to think, even if we had no other evidence, if every single planet and star in the known universe is round, then it's a pretty good bet that our planet is going to be round as well. Because after all, planets are round and ours is a planet, right? That stands to reason. Another pretty simple bit. I spoke about the time zones already. That's another bit. Here's another one that is kind of heady, okay? And I'm going to try to make this as simplified as I can so where it's easy for everyone to understand out there. And that is the existence of the center of gravity. Now everybody knows what gravity is. It was famously discovered by Newton when, according to the story, an apple fell out of a tree and bonked him on his head. Gravity is the force. It's basically the attraction between two objects, okay, based on their mass and the distance between them. And the center of gravity for a round object is the same no matter where you stand. Okay? Basically, since a sphere or a round ball it has a consistent shape all the way around it. So no matter where you stand, you have exactly the same amount of sphere or round ball underneath of you. So gravity acts exactly the same on you no matter where you are on that sphere. Okay? So basically what I'm saying is whether you're standing here with me in Virginia or whether you are standing in California or whether you are in Timbuktu or whether you're in the middle of the Sahara Desert, gravity acts exactly the same way on you because you are exactly the same distance from the Earth's center of gravity at its core, no matter where you stand. Therefore, gravity doesn't change. It's the same. Okay, that is only possible with a round Earth. With a flat Earth, gravity will affect you differently depending on where you stand. The reason for that is because if the center of gravity of a cube is in the center, which it is, if you were standing directly above that center of gravity, so you're in the middle of the cube, then gravity is at a constant. But as you move further to one side or one of the corners of that cube, the distance between you and the center of gravity changes. Therefore, the effect of gravity changes on you. The further away you get, the less gravity will affect you. The closer you are, the more gravity will affect you. So it's not constant on a flat surface, on a flat Earth, because the center of gravity is fixed at the middle. And as you move, there's more or less distance between you and the center of gravity with a cube. Whereas with a round cylinder, by a sphere, no matter where you move on that center, you're at the exact same distance from the core, which is the center of gravity. Okay? To illustrate this point, do you guys remember what they used to call a compass in school? It's that little weird triangle looking thing that has a sharp point and a pencil that you stuck into your paper and you drew a circle with it. No matter where on that circle you go, you are the same distance between the point, which now becomes the center of your circle. That's the center of gravity of the Earth in our example. No matter where on the Earth or that circle you travel with your pencil, you are still exactly the same distance from the point that makes contact on that paper. That's the center of gravity. The same distance between you and it. So gravity is constant between you and it. Only possible with a round Earth. The last one I'm going to talk about is something that should be the most obvious reason for everybody. But it's also, and this was surprising to me, but it's also the one that the flat Earth people reject the most. And it's the one that's a little iffy in all reality. Now remember, when I started this, I said I tell the truth. Okay, I'm all about truth. And the truth is there's some problems with this one. And it's images from space. Okay, that's what this one is. Now, anybody who looks at this should easily be able to say, okay, I know that the Earth is round because I've seen pictures of it. Okay, if you see something, it's no longer a mystery. You can see it. It's right there. If I held up that orange and I said, hey, what shape is this orange? You would say, well, it's round. It's a circle. It's a sphere. And I'd say, very good. Because you can see it. So it should be very obvious to everybody that we've seen pictures of the planet. We know what it looks like. So there you go. The Earth is round. No problem, right? But the flat Earth people say you can't trust those pictures because they've been doctored. They've been photoshopped. Now, they say that NASA has added clouds and stuff like that to these pictures that weren't there originally. They say that the size and the shape of the continents aren't on scale with each other the way they're supposed to be. They don't match reality. They say that at nighttime, when you know those couple pictures we've seen of the Earth at night to where you have all those lights everywhere, they say that doesn't make sense because that would mean if you turn your porch light on, you could see it from space. That's silly. Okay, these are the points that the flat Earth people make about the pictures that we've seen of the Earth from space. They say that they're not real, that they're fakes. Now, that sounds like one of those tinfoil hat kind of things, right? That sounds like you should easily just be able to go, what the hell are you talking about? Shut up, dummy. They're pictures. Look at them. They're right there. But unfortunately, they have a point. Like I said, it's all about truth here. NASA has doctored some of these photos. They have added clouds in. They have added extra lights and stuff in. They've changed color. They've changed all kinds of things on these pictures. NASA routinely edits not only pictures, but video footage also that they get. There is a definite difference between the unedited footage and the edited footage that the public gets to see. I know that because I've seen the unedited footage myself. So they do have a point here. That does not mean, however, that because NASA edits the pictures, that the Earth is flat. That's a jump in logic that nobody should make. You know what I mean? Because that doesn't make any sense. There are reasons why NASA has photoshopped, quote unquote, these pictures. And they have nothing to do with covering up the fact that the Earth is actually flat. But they are about covering up. That is true. But it's not that the Earth is flat. There are things in space that NASA does not want you to see. Things that we are not allowed to see. That is what NASA has been editing and covering up. I've seen actual unedited footage from NASA where there were objects that were flying around outside of the Earth's orbit. Now, I don't mean like a meteor flies, you know, just kind of drifting on by on their way to wherever. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about intelligent flight. I'm talking about zipping across the sky, stopping on a dime, turning and making a 90-degree turn, and zipping off again. Nothing does that naturally. That's not a natural movement for any celestial body or object traveling through space. Now, there's a ton of very complicated scientific reasons I can give you to why that's not a natural movement and cannot happen without intelligent design or power. But I think it's kind of common sense too. That just doesn't happen unless somebody makes it happen. Now, I saw the same piece of footage that was released to the public after it had been edited, and that object was completely gone. Not only did it not stop, change directions, and fly off again at a 90-degree angle, but it simply did not exist in the footage anymore. It was just taken out. Now, things like that are why NASA edits footage. Things like that is why NASA has edited a lot of the audio that came back from a lot of the Apollo missions, okay, where there's chunks of time missing. The reason chunks of time were taken out is because of what the astronauts were saying during that time period. But that has nothing at all to do with trying to cover up the fact that the Earth is flat, okay? So here's a situation where you have a tiny little nugget of truth in this theory, but the conclusions that are drawn from that tiny little nugget of truth are not valid, they are not sound, they are not true. Now, being a person that believes in aliens, Sasquatch, Loch Ness Monster, things like that, I have my opinion on this. But I am not discounting the opinion of those who believe differently than me. What I always try to do on our shows is I try to lay out evidence for you, and I let you make your own mind up. You make the decision. I personally believe that the world is round, and I gave the flat earth theory a good solid chance. I researched it. I learned as much as I could about it. I gave it every opportunity and every chance, no matter how ludicrous I thought it sounded. I gave it every chance possible to convince me. There's just too much science that says it's not true. Too much fact that say it's not true. And there's too many speculations and leaps in logic on the other side by the flat earth people for me to ever believe it. Now, like all things, that could change. If all of a sudden tomorrow the government comes out and says, hey guys, listen, we've been lying to you. I mean, everybody knows we lie to you, but this is a whole different lie because we've actually told you the earth is round and it's flat. If that happens and they produce solid evidence of it, then I'll change my tune maybe. But right now there's just way too much science, way too much evidence and fact that tell me that this is not true. So that's where I come down on it. But like I said, everybody make up your own minds. That's why you have them. feel free to do your own research. You don't trust what I say any more than you trust what they say. I've given you the evidence that I've found. I've given you the research that I've done. But verify it. Research it yourself and make up your own mind. Use this show as one of your research tools where you learn a lot of interesting things. But look at other sources as well. Find the best videos that YouTube has to offer on the flat earth theory and watch them and see what they say. And then test their theory. Do the research and find out if what they say holds water. Make up your own mind. And let me know in the comments below. Whenever you watch this, and if you do research it, let me know what you think. If you believe it's true or if you believe it's hogwash. I'm not going to hate on you either way. I don't care what you think. If you think it's real, hey, great, wonderful. And share your evidence with the world if you believe that. If you believe that it's not real, then that's fine too. That's awesome. I don't have a problem with you either way. I love these mysteries. I love these things because they're interesting, And for me, that's what it's all about. I think that's what keeps you alive, is being interested. Having something to look forward to, having some kind of mission to be on, something to learn about. I think once you reach that point in your life where you're not excited about anything anymore, and you're not intrigued or interested anymore in anything, I think you kind of mentally check out. And it's not too long after that you usually physically check out as well, and you die. So I always try to go on these little adventures with myself. When I see something that interests me, a mystery that needs to be solved, and something that I need to learn, I throw myself into it and I learn it. But maybe I'm just weird. I don't know. Now I'm going to throw over to Old Boy and get his opinion on the flat earth theory.
Thank you, brother. And it was very interesting because I'm going to be honest with you. On this topic, I really don't know too much. I know a little bit, but it's never really interests me, but I do it just because it's something different about the flat earth theory. I honestly agree with James. I think it's a joke. The world's round. Columbus proved that when he sailed the 7 seas. The world wasn't flat. And these people who believe it, I'm not going to say they're idiots or anything because I don't like to badmouth anybody. Trust me, guys. I want you to know that. I don't like to put down anybody because people still have a heart, But I think some of these people just want to get on TV or it's their name in a paper to get some kind of fame, because I'm sorry, the world isn't flat. It's rounded. They've proven it numerous times. I have to agree totally with James about this theory, and trust me, he's a person who really studies this stuff. So I know when he says something, it's not real, because the majority of the time the stuff we study, and trust me, he studies this for days and hours. And I do too, but not like on his level, because he's a genius. He knows when something's fake, or, I'm not going to say he knows everything, because, that's just never going to happen. But majority of the stuff he knows is real or fake. And this issue right here, I think it's fake. It's exaggerated. I don't agree with the flat earth theory. I never have. It's never really interested me. I used to listen to it a long time ago. I've seen shows on it like Coast to Coast. George Norrie used to have I used to listen to it. I still think he does stuff. And I saw something the other day on Facebook about the flat earth theory, that they think the world's flat and the sun and the moon go around it like a giant circle. And I don't agree with it. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I never could understand why people thought the world was flat. Maybe back in the day, when it was the 1400s, when people didn't really know. It was actually the 1400s, sorry, and the 1300s. Sorry, don't want to give misinformation. Then you didn't have like planes and cars and stuff, so you didn't know what was really there and what there was really a moon and space. They only had I think they had God, what do they call those? Telescopes then, but not like we have now. But they didn't know if the world was round or flat, I can understand if they thought it then, but now, come on. Don't always believe everything's fake. Everybody thinks that the government's behind everything. They make everything look like it's real, like going to the moon was fake. They just put up a screen and had a bunch of people doing acting, and they had a set made. That's what they think with the government did here. They hide the fact that we're just flat, and they make up things. And the moon really exists, but we've never been on it and stuff like that. Those are all conspiracy theories, and I never fell for conspiracy theories. There's a couple that I'll study, like about who killed JFK and the Hollow Earth. That's another one I want to start getting into. Now, maybe we could do an episode down the road about the Hollow Earth, but I don't agree with the flat Earth theory at all. I just, it's kind of pointless to even talk about it, in my opinion, but hey, we had to do a show about it because there's so many people. There is still people who believe in this stuff, so we actually had to do a show to debunk them. And I'm not saying they're all wrong, but a lot of this theory, it's just people just get these theories, or they don't really do their homework, and they think things. They hear something out of a book, or they just see one thing and they just don't really study it, so they think that's just automatically right, and I just don't agree with the theory, and like I said, Columbus proved this wrong back in the 1400s. He didn't go off the edge of the, like people thought if the world was flat, you would go off the edge and fall off into, wherever, the oblivion or whatever the heck it was, like a black hole. But no, that's not what happened. You went all around like in a big circle, because that's what the Earth is. It's not perfect, but it's not flat. You're not going to fall off the map. Like they used to write in the 1300s, you'd see a boat going off the map and it's falling off because they thought everything was square. It wouldn't make any sense, because nothing. It just, if you look at a square and you look at a circle, a square, everything would fall off. We wouldn't even have any water in it. It wouldn't make any sense. A squared planet. That would make no sense to me. I don't get that. That's crazy. I'm sorry. That's just, I'm going to say I don't agree with the theory at all. I have to agree with James. I'm going to say this is not true. I think the world is round. There's too many people out there to prove this theory, and I'm sorry if you don't like what I think. I'm sorry. Don't know what else to say, James. Take it from there.
Okay, we are just about out of time, so I'm going to throw over to Old Boy and let him do his shout-outs.
Thank you, brother, and I want to thank everybody on ParaX. Remember to listen to us on ParaX on Sunday nights at 12 o'clock Eastern Time, or 9 Pacific, my time, because I live in California. He lives in the East Coast in Virginia. I want to give a shout-out to one of our old radio hosts, Tammy Garathi. I know I might have got this wrong, but she's doing a project called Touched by a Demon. It's a documentary she's trying to get going, so if you guys want to check her out on Facebook. I tried to say it right, but like I said, I don't know if I did. Tammy Garathi. But check her out, and her Touched by the Demon documentary she's trying to get going right now. She's trying to take, I think, donations. So you guys check that out. I want to thank everybody, my daughter, my family. I hope everybody has a good Christmas, because it's coming up, and a New Year's. I hope everybody just has a great time. And I love you, and I appreciate you guys. And remember, we're trying to get sponsors, or you want to promote your business, let us know. Me or James Hershey on his Facebook page, hit us up, or me, Old Boy James Ash, hit me up and let me know, guys. Remember to check us out on James Hershey's YouTube page and subscribe, and you can listen to all our old shows and our newer ones too. Just let us know, man, what you think, and always be safe. You only live once, so live it to the fullest. Good night, sugar ladies, misfits, and demon hunters. I love you.
Thank you, brother. This has been an interesting show. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. And that's one of the things I love about what we do, is it's so different than anybody else's show, really. Because on this show, on Staring Into the Abyss, you're able to really get some good information. A lot of people talk about the paranormal. A lot of people talk about a lot of different things, but to get the level of information that you're able to get and to solve mysteries and to actually answer the real questions is a rare thing. And before we started doing this show, we had done a couple other shows and stuff like that, and then I started thinking about it, and I love the paranormal. It's been a passion my entire life. Old Boy loves the paranormal. And I thought, why don't we do this show, a paranormal show, and why don't we actually answer some of these questions and really dig into this stuff and really put some research out there instead of just getting on and bloviating about something for an hour and not really saying anything. And I think that we do that pretty well on this show. You guys let me know what you think. If you're in the chat right now on ParaX, or if you are listening on YouTube, you can leave a comment down below. The channel, if you're listening on the radio and you want to check out the YouTube channel, is youtube.com/James Hershey Jr. It's got all the old shows, a bunch of other different kinds of videos on there. It's a really cool channel, completely free. So give it a look and subscribe, please. Another thing I want to talk about is we recently started a Patreon page. Now, the address to that is patreon.com/James Hershey Jr. I'm not exactly sure how Patreon works yet because we just made the page. But if you like the show and you want to help support the show, then go to the Patreon page and you can, I guess, do pledges is the way it works, where you can pledge a monthly amount or maybe even a one-time pledge. I'm not sure. But if you want to support the show, head on over there and pledge whatever you want to pledge. If you do, great. Thank you guys very much. If you don't, no problem. You can still listen for free and enjoy the show. The Tammy G documentary, that sounds like it's going to be kind of cool. Tammy is a dear, dear friend of ours. We were on a show with her a long time ago. Well, maybe not so long ago, but it seems like forever ago. And she is a paranormal investigator, and she has Lost Souls Investigations. And they're involved right now in making a documentary about demons and demon possession and stuff like that. So it should be very, very cool. So I also want to give a shout out to Tammy and say good luck with your documentary you guys are working on. We love you, and we hope the best for you. And to everybody listening, thank you guys so much for all your support. We really appreciate you. Until we speak to you again, love many, trust few, and do harm to none. We love you. Bye-bye.